it's me again. I apologize. Something's going off with the technology, but I'm back. This is day 3 of the Priestess Novena. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. What is the Priestess Novena? The Priestess Novena is a teaching from my forthcoming book, Birthing the Priestess Within. We go through a 9-day journey together. And the key, the essential part of the journey is that we sit in silence. We sit at that point of creation, at that point where, at that infinity point for 9 minutes. So 9 minutes for 9 days. And every novena that I do has a specific theme. As you probably know, the theme for this novena is divine leadership, embodying divine leadership by healing your inner teen. So these last 2 days we've been talking about that, and yesterday was so powerful for me to the inner journey that came forward of kind of traveling back in time, right? We traveled back in time to our teenage years from 13 to 19 and asked your soul to kind of pinpoint 1 year, one age where there was healing that was available for you. So today I want to go back into that whole embodying divine leadership. What does that mean? So embodying divine leadership, right, means that it is grounded. It is integrated into your physical being. It means that it's not just you praying and meditating about your leadership and about because let me back up a little bit. Divine leadership is service. Divine leadership is we have a commitment to following our soul's guidance, to aligning with the divine, and share our medicine from that place. So this is the type of leadership I'm talking about. When you use the word embodying divine leadership, it means that it goes beyond just thinking about it, just imagining it, just meditating on it, just praying about it, just visualizing it. All of those are essential, of course, but it means that you are stepping into actually taking the steps, embodying it, being seen in that space of leadership, being seen in that space of service. And being seen and being heard is vulnerable. It takes courage. Now, as I say all the time, your divine leadership and divine service will look different than it will for others. So there's no competition, there's no comparison, but it is going to look like you being seen in some way or another, whether it's by a group of people at the same time or individually, being seen in your truth and your authenticity. That's the type of leadership that's needed. And so why is inner child work important when we are committed to being a leader? Well, because if you look at the world, we've all experienced personally and have witnessed it, people in leadership who abuse that. Whether it's from a place of narcissism or a place of just whatever it is, whether it's abusive or just incompetent, there's all sorts of degrees. And I'm not saying that with any judgment, it's just observation that we've all seen that happen and that unfold, which is a reason why you might be scared of leadership. And we talked about this before. But now is not the time anymore. It is actually your responsibility to nurture your leadership, to do whatever you need to do so that you can keep stepping forward. Now, if you're watching this, I believe you already are a leader. But the thing with divine leadership is that we're always being invited to the next level of vulnerability, the next level of authenticity, the next level of transparency, the next level of courage, the next level of boldness. None of that can happen unless we have an ongoing practice, an ongoing commitment to our inner healing. And one of the most profound, important pieces of that is inner child healing. And within inner child healing, one of the most important essential aspects of that is inner teen healing, those teenage years that are so crucial, so essential to our growth, so essential to our development. Our teenage years are powerful years. And so any trauma, wounding, outdated beliefs, limitations, fears that came up during that time period, it is our responsibility to connect with that inner teenager inside of us or inner teenager inside of us and develop a relationship with her or him or they. I'm just going to use the pronoun she for now just because it's easier. But please know we have parts inside of us that are all genders or don't identify with a gender. So when you take that courageous step, when you commit to, I'm going to do this inner teen healing work. I'm going to connect with my teenager within. I'm going to listen to her. I'm going to bear sacred witness to her pain. I'm going to also, because it's not all about trauma and wounding, that's part of it, but it's also about, when you think about teenagers, all of the amazing qualities, and I used to teach 7th grade, for almost a decade, so I'm very familiar, and I have, I'm a mother of 5, so they've all passed their teenage years now, but, so I've been around teenagers a lot, and not to mention my own inner teens, but the power of the teenage years, right? There's so much fuel, there's so much passion, there can be so much confidence, there's so much creativity, there's so much spontaneity, there's so much innovation. There's so much. So this is not just about healing the trauma and the wounding, but it's also about receiving the fuel from that life, that time in your life, from that aspect of who you are. So when we don't do that, think about, so I'm going to just use examples of, when I'm working with clients and students, whether they're looking to expand their career, right? Usually by bringing in something that's innovative and new to their field. Even if my client, for example, is a therapist or a yoga teacher or works in marketing, whatever it is, but they're wanting to bring something that's innovative and different. Whether it's bringing in spirituality or mindfulness or law of attraction or, that's really the direction our world is going to. That's the type of leadership that's necessary. It's this integration of these different modalities. And so a lot of my clients and students, that's what they're doing, right? They're birthing something new. And what happens when you're putting yourself out there that way, right? When you're letting people know, I often tell my students and clients, like, marketing really is all about, if you boil it down, is all about this is me, this is who I am, this is what I do you want to hang out? Think about your teenage years with that. Think about the dances or just, making friends or being with people like that. Whatever your experience was with that, whether you were the most popular teenager ever, or you were incredibly, uncomfortable socializing or anywhere in between, probably all of those, right? Because that's the amazing thing about the teenage years. It's all of it. It's like you're super confident and then you're so insecure, it's all of it. All of that comes into play when you're putting yourself out there, when you're letting people know, hey, I have a new offering. I have something to share with you. And knowing that people will judge and reject, or not reject, but just not be interested, right? It is that teenager within us that holds us back, that keeps us playing safe, that keeps us in our safety zone, that waits for everybody else to kind of give us permission. It's the wounded teenager. And so it's important that we befriend that part of us, and that, like I said, that we bear sacred witness. What is bearing sacred witness? Bearing sacred witness means that we are not trying to fix it, not forcing ourselves, not giving advice. So let's think about a friend So if you have a dear friend that you care about and she's confiding in you something that happened that was painful to her, bearing sacred witness would be that you don't immediately go into advice giving. You don't immediately go into like, oh, it's going to be fine. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Bypassing. You don't judge her. You're not distracted. You're not trying to rush her telling her story or rush her out of her pain, because you know that what she really needs is for you to just listen and bear sacred witness. And the only way we can be a sacred witness to other people's pain is because we've done the inner work. So I know when I work with my clients and students, if I wasn't committed to my inner work, which I've been doing and will continue to do and have my own coaches and support system for that, when a client is in pain, whether it's huge pain or a little pain, I would immediately go into rescue mode. I would immediately go into, okay, let's make you feel better. Let's go. But that's not the first place. First, we just create that sacred space for the other person and we allow them to have their feelings. Not in a codependent way, but in an empowered way. So I am sharing that because that's what we do with our inner parts. That's what we do with that teenager within us. And it is courageous work to do this. It's not maybe fun work at first when we start. It might feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, but it's so worth it. There's so much grace that gets released as we do this. We become, going back to the priestess. What is a priestess? A priestess is someone who said yes, I am committed to being a channel of unconditional love for myself and for others. Do not kid yourself. Like, the hardest part of that is the unconditional love to yourself. It isn't the unconditional love to others, right? It is for ourselves. That's the hardest thing. So this work with our inner teenager is sacred, it's courageous, and you're doing it not just for yourself, hey Robbie, but for the world. So I want to read just a little bit of the card that came up. Well, Mother Mary showed up twice today. So one, I've been pulling from the Mother Mary deck from Alana Fairchild. And the one for today, when I was praying, I was like, okay, what's the message? Our Lady of Starting Over. So look at this. Sorry, the lights. There you go. Now let me explain what this means. I'm just going to read a little bit. It's not that, oh my gosh, I'm starting over. Everything I've done doesn't count. I have to start all over again. No, it's this. It says, Our Lady of Starting Over arises when you need help to put the past, especially a painful past, to rest. You are entering into a time when the loving mother's support will be helpful as you step onto a new path. She says that you are entitled to be free from all that has been, free to treat each and every moment as a completely fresh start, so as to release any guilt and shame and feel empowered to choose now based on what is in your heart. So how powerful is that? So when we do this healing work with this, I've been talking since we started the Novena. For me, it's been my inner 16-year-old. So as I bear witness to her, it's not to stay stuck in the pain of my 16-year-old self, but it's to finally say, I let go of the past and the past lets go of me. So that my 16-year-old can come into this present moment, 2021, and know that I am here for her, that I love her, but she is not in charge of my career. I can use her fuel. There's so many gifts of my inner 16-year-old, but there has been a lot of trauma as well, and wounding, and things that can make me kind of censor myself or stifle myself or go in rescue mode or all sorts of things. So this message from Mother Mary, starting over, it's like, the first day we got the receiving a new vision. So I feel like this connects with that. It's like we're just saying, that's it. We're letting go of the past, beautiful teenagers. We're stepping into the present. I'm ready to treat this moment as fresh and new. That's where the miracles happen. And then when I pulled from the other deck that has multiple different ascended masters, Mother Mary showed up again. So there you go. And again, as I've said many, many times, this isn't connected to any dogma or doctrine or frankly baggage that has been placed around many figures, particularly Mother Mary. But this message says, expect a miracle. Have faith that your prayers have been heard and are being answered. So perfect, right? So we're going to step into that 9-minute space. Remember, these are recorded, so you can always go back and watch them and do them then. So what happens during this time, I'm going to show you. So if you haven't done this before, this is the cover of my, it's not this big, but this is a blown up cover of my forthcoming book, Birthing the Priestess Within. And you see this infinity symbol, how she's sitting on it. So you're going to visualize yourself sitting on this infinity symbol, on the center point. Why? Because that center point is, there's many names and many traditions for what that point is, but it is the point where instantaneous miracles exist, can happen. And it is the point that is outside of time. It is a place where you know nothing and yet can access all answers. And this happens beyond your logical understanding. So your intellect might be like, well, how can I know nothing but know everything? What do I want to figure this out and analyze it? But the truth is that our intellect mind can't get it. So just have compassion for it. But know that when we step into that, as the Sophia Code calls it, the womb of no thing, right? Or the in some Indian traditions is the Nada Bindu, right? It's that 0 point. There's so many names, right? But it's describing that place outside of time. And so we enter it together and we sit in that stillness for 9 minutes and just allow the healing to happen. Allow whatever needs to be released to be released. Allow, particularly, remember the theme of this novena is embodying your divine leadership by healing your inner teen, right? So as we sit, I shared yesterday how I had this vision of my 16-year-old. She was sitting on the infinity symbol, like across from me, and that infinity symbol was moving up and down through her chakras, was clearing her energy centers. And of course, as that happens, they're being cleared for me as well. Please know there's no pressure. If your mind wanders, if you start thinking of something else, that is fine. It is still working. Now, we are doing this together. Now, whether you're here live, because I know a lot of you watch the replay or watching the replay, there is so much power in the collective, right? There's so much power when we do this together. I know for some of you, 9 minutes might seem like nothing. If you have a meditation practice, it might be like, oh, I can totally do this. And I know for others, it might feel like that feels interminable, right? Or you might be anywhere in between. I've had a daily meditation practice for 12 years now or something like that. And you're always a beginner. Sometimes the 9 minutes go like this, and sometimes it feels like 9 years, really. But we just trust that whatever needs to happen is going to happen during that time. So you should have your candle. If you have your candle, like I have my Guadalupe candle here, you can light it up. If you're watching this and you happen to not have a candle, that's okay. You can do it, have the candle next time. I need to put it down. And I sent in my newsletter the Priestess invocation. And we know, of course, that you don't have to use the term priestess. You can use whatever term you want to use. This goes beyond any sort of gender identifications. I'm going to drink a little tea because, like I said, I was cheering all morning. So as we hold this, we're going to say it together. And if you don't have the prayer, the invocation with you, that's fine. You can, again, if you sign up to my newsletter or you go to my website, you can access it there. I think it's on my Facebook page as well. All right. As this candle burns, my soul within me burns. What does that mean? My soul within me burns. It means that it is burning with grace, right? With holy fire. It's burning off whatever needs to be cleared. As this wax melts, resistance in me melts. So as we melt, so for 9 days we have this candle lit. The wax is melting as our own resistance to healing is melting. 9 days to clear lifetimes of fear. So think of that. 9 days to clear lifetimes. As I give, I receive. So this is where we're starting to come into balance. I give and I receive. As I give, I receive. As I heal, I am healed. Doors open, I walk through. So just imagine that all these beautiful golden doors are opening and you walk through them. Doors open, I walk through. I am ready for the new. Abundance comes with ease and grace, for I have finally found my place. Right? Abundance comes with ease and grace, for I have finally found my place. Again, this is the Priestess Novena invocation that I channeled, that I wrote for my book. So let's put the timer, and we're going to do this together. I will see you on the other side. And let's begin. taking some deep breaths. And some stretches, whatever you need to do to transition back. And if you have your journal and you want to write down anything, please take a moment to do that right now. Of course, you can continue once we're done. I'm going to drink a little tea. Let's spray a little spray. So I hope it was interesting for me this time. My 16-year-old, it was like she saw me. Like, she had seen me before, but it's like she looked at me and was kind of like, had this realization like, oh, we've grown up. You know, it was, and I've been doing inner child work for years. So, but it was interesting. It was almost like my 16-year-old looked at me as an adult woman, and she was like proud, like, okay, like, it's like she saw me in a different way. And because of that, she was just able to kind of relax and be teenagery and go off and do whatever teenagers do. So it was really interesting. Whereas yesterday I was felt like there was so much clearing. Part of me was like, okay, I'm done with the novena. We don't need to do the 6 other days, which I know is not true. But that was very powerful for me. So whatever experiences you're having, I know they're perfect for you. So I'm going to pull a card from the Star Temple Oracle that I've been using because my teenager really likes it. And I believe now I'll be able to be consistent with the time. Oh, that's so beautiful, Deborah. At one point you were guided to stand and move your body in a figure 8 motion. That makes so much sense. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm glad you brought that up, Deborah, because I forget to add that yes, there's, movement, and who knows, I should watch the recording. Maybe I'm moving during the 9 minutes, is so common. And even that figure 8 motion with your hips, right? Kind of moving that to help the energy really get anchored in. So thank you for sharing that. What I was going to say was, I believe I can now be consistent with the time this week of 8 o'clock in the morning. So I will send it out in the newsletter, but it was just these last 3 days, a lot has been going on. So, all right, what's the final message here? The closing message. Okay, there's like 20 closing message. One. All right. Oh, so perfect. The Oracle forecast. I am the Oracle. My intuitive insights flow freely. Look at this gorgeous woman, young teenager. I love this because I feel like it's reminding. So what is an oracle? These are oracle cards. An oracular activism, oracular priestess, oracular. If you have the gift of having oracular medicine, that means that you can tap into the divine. You can tap into across the veil and channel messages, bring forward messages, whether it's verbally or energetically or through art. So this card is reminding you that you are an oracle and that your intuitive insights flow freely. And for me, this is saying that as we heal our inner teenager, these oracular gifts are going to flow even more powerfully, even more freely for the blessing, for your own blessing and the blessing of the world. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. If you didn't get to see the whole thing, please go back and watch the replay. And I hope to see, we have 6 more days. So I hope to see you in the next 6 days as we complete this journey together. It's such an honor to walk this with you. Bye. See ya.